Okay, so what's going on? Hope y'all having a good day today. We got to get through some stuff real quick. All right, it's gonna be a real quick one. So, right now we all know ICE is a big conversation, immigration and whatnot. And me as a Pan Africanist, it's a big problem for us. You know what I mean? But I wanted to go over a few things because I feel like a lot of us don't know. So one, let's talk about. I'm gonna show a clip though. It was with Roland Martin, and it talks about he's speaking with Jillian Michaels. You guys probably don't know who she is. I didn't even know who she was, but we're gonna talk about what's going on as far as ICE. That's domestically, but internationally too. So what's happening right now is there are a lot of bans on countries to come into the United States. Now, apparently, guess which continent has the most banned countries? Africa. Look at this. Look at this picture. Right? That's the continent of Africa. All that black you see are countries banned from the United States and most likely a lot of other Western countries, right? Some of them are Somalia, Niger, Chad, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Mali, Angola, Gabon, Angola, Burundi, Benin, Togo, Senegal, Sierra Leone, Mali, Niger, Chad, Libya, Sudan, Eritrea. And the reason why they're saying this, right? The reason why DHS, Homeland Security, or whatever you have, is saying this is because they're saying it's unreliable screening process, meaning a lot of these countries don't have reliable screening process, I guess. And it says high visa overstay, meaning they overstay their visas the most, more than Mexicans and whatnot. Anyway, than any other group, I guess. Then also terrorism and instability. Oh, I wonder why that is. Why is there so much terrorism? We're going to touch into that a little bit. And refusal. These countries refuse to accept their citizens back after they're deported. Now, to touch on it a little bit, because I ain't trying to touch on it way too much. Most of these countries that are being listed here, there are many other reasons as to why they're being blocked. One major reason is if you look at what's going on in those countries, the United States and the Western world has a lot of interference going on in there. When you look at Sudan, South Sudan, there's a war genocide going there. When you look at the Congo, there's a war that's been going on forever there. And they're stealing, extracting resources from there. So, what do I mean by that? Why would you want to let someone into your house after you just burned and pillaged their house? It's that simple. If I came to your house, right, and I burned, pillaged, and ripped all the copper and the steel, took your dishwasher, your fridge, your TV, your couches, and I just took it all over to my house. And then you said, hey, man, I don't have anything here. Just let me in your house to use a couple of the things you stole from me. So at least I can go back and rebuild. And you say, why would I do that, right? Why would I do that? And then they give all these reasons as to why, right? So what you're going to watch in this clip is you're going to see Roland Martin puts on a great performance. Not the whole video. The whole video is not there. But Roland Martin puts on he's a great debater, a great explanation as to the hypocrisy within especially white Americans as to how they view immigrants, especially black and brown ones, Muslim ones, compared to a Jewish immigrant, or compare a Ukrainian to a Somalian immigrant. Even if you remember in South Africa, they were saying that a lot of the white farmers were getting their land stolen, they're being murdered, and all this BS. And Donald Trump opens the floodgates for all the white South Africans to come here. John, the whole DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and whatever this immigration agencies is just pure racism at this point. So anyway, let's watch the clip.
Talk about, getting rid of all Muslims in this country. As an African American, I then say, what about white Christians? Because when we look at violence in this country, mass shootings in this country, who typically commits them? That's not true.
Well, that is true.
Okay, if what you just described is the case, then the Italians, the Jewish, the Polish, every group that came to the United States did exactly what you just said. They had own communities, own culture. So, do you understand the history of America?
We're bringing Roland.
Piers,
You don't have an answer, do you?
Piers, Jillian, I've had to sit here
I'll
and
take
listen to y'all
it.
go back and forth. Can I please make this point?
Please.
Thank
yes,
you.
Absolutely.
Piers.
Yes.
Last week I was in Montgomery, Alabama for the 7th anniversary of the Montgomery bus boycott. And there is a National Memorial for Peace and Justice and Legacy Museum there that documents, that commemorates the documented 4,400 lynchings in this country. And there were more that took place. As an African American, when I understand what it means when you have a people who have a bullseye on their back, who are being targeted. I understand that. And so it is absolutely shameful that you cannot be at a Hanukkah celebration and it gets interrupted by mass violence because of two evil individuals. But I'm saying two evil individuals for a reason. Because under the legitimate FBI leadership of Christopher Wray, they said that the greatest threat in America is white domestic terrorism. So when I listen to people like Senator Tommy Tuberville talk about, getting rid of all Muslims in this country, as an African American, I then say, what about white Christians? Because when we look at violence in this country, mass shootings in this country, who typically commits them? And so I think anybody has to be very careful to not go down this path of, oh my God, all of them, when I, as an African American, who's also, Jillian, please allow me to finish. When I, as an African American, who's also a Christian, can literally look at the history of white Christians committing violence. And so what we cannot do is say, oh, it is the religion that's driving it, as opposed to it is these evil individuals. Piers, you properly talked about guns and how Australia, after that mass shooting, you said in the 90s, how they targeted. But the fact that they were successful should be a lesson to America. How about you also try that to deal with mass shootings in this country? And so it is wrong for us to go down this path of condemning an entire religion, condemning an entire group of people, whether they are Muslim, whether they are Jewish, whether they are Christian. What we have to recognize is there are evil people in this world, and our job is to root out evil and then how they impact people. But it's crazy to attack an entire religion and target all those people.
I agree with that. My question, Wajahat, for you is what does the Muslim community do to root out these extremists in their midst?
Right.
Well, okay, I'm going to
not
flip
an
it.
understanding.
No.
By the way, everything you said, any white person who's committed such an atrocity should obviously go to jail for the rest of their life.
What has Jillian done to root out white mass shooters in America? Jillian, what have you done to root out and de-radicalize the white men in your community who are responsible for the #1 mass shooting in this country?
I would condemn and call it out, and I would, if I was on a jury, I would absolutely
No, what have you done?
vote for them
What have you done?
to go to prison. I'm also
And
not
that
doing
is the
anything
perfect, and that is
to go after radical
the point.
Muslims.
Piers,
I'm trying
Piers, the
to
question,
condemn
Piers,
all violence and form some common ground with you here, where radicalism across the board should be condemned. But I think what you're not understanding is when people are concerned, they're concerned, as far as I can tell, about assimilation. And in all the conversations that I have had about this, they are worried, like, hey, if it's 2 radical Muslims and 1 good guy, how are we going to keep the 2 radicals out? And if you've got, let's say, 1% of 2 billion people that want to bring down the West, like, what do you do about chance of death to America and Dearborn? This is what I'm saying. Like, what do you say
I
about
keep hearing
that?
assimilation. Piers, I keep hearing assimilation. And again, this is the point which you're making. You keep saying assimilation, that is the answer. Again, what happens when people who are born here, who were brought here in chains, and their ancestors and their folks are here, and you still are dealing with white domestic terrorism? Is that assimilation? See, this is the problem. Y'all somehow think that assimilation, that's going to be the answer. That's not. It is not the answer.
Well,
and so it's
we've
nonsensical
seen
to
it
think
work
so.
Well, depends what you mean. I mean, look,
Immigrants
let me
generally
all right,
thrive
hang
in
on.
America.
Yeah, let them
Don't all
define
talk at once.
assimilation.
Let me bring in Cenk here.
I'll define
Let me
it.
bring in Cenk.
I'll define it. It's not.
Hang on,
It's not
Gillian.
chanting death to
Hang on,
America.
please.
It's loving America.
Hang on,
wanting
Gillian.
to pursue the
It's
American
also not
dream.
participating in a
Please, let me
violent
finish
insurrection.
talking.
That's kind of the answer,
All right.
in my opinion.
Can I say something, please, to Cenk? So, Cenk, this word assimilation, what it really means to me, at its purest, is that if you come to, say, the United States or the UK or Australia from another country, particularly another country which has a very different culture. So say you come from the Middle East and you come to live in America, live in London, live in Sydney, whatever. The word assimilate means that you do your best to be part of the new culture you're joining. What you don't do is put a drawbridge up and start your own culture within the culture of the country you go to at the expense of that nation's culture. I mean, at its purest...
That's not true.
Well, that is true.
Okay, if what you just described is the case, then the Italians, the Jewish, the Polish, every group that came to the United States did exactly what you just said. They had own communities, own culture. So, do you understand the history of America?
Yes, and I also understand that in the
And what you described.
well, I don't remember the Italians in America setting up their own rival court system, for example, unless I missed it.
Muslims haven't either.
No.
Did they?
Yeah, no.
Because in the UK,
right.
we now
No.
in the
Okay.
UK we now have nearly 100
All right.
Sharia courts have been set up. Okay,
Yeah.
so I don't remember that happening with any of the Poles or the Italians in the United States. That's what I'm talking about, Cenk.
Okay. All right. So what I can't stand is the double standard. So
if you watch that, you watch how Roland Martin cooked her, right? She got her pants cooked, right? One, let's talk about Jillian Michaels. Jillian Michaels is what is she? She used to be a fitness coach. I don't even know. See, Piers Morgan, you got to understand, some of these shows are just like, what are we watching at this point? Some of these shows, like Piers Morgan, he runs pretty much an internet viral sensation show. It's not real news. So he has this lady, Jillian Michaels. She's on PBD, if you know Patrick Bet-Davis. He has a show on YouTube. Patrick Bet-Davis, a multimillionaire, ran an insurance Ponzi scheme, like a high marketing schemes. I don't know, whatever. But if you know who he is, you know who he is. He's Iranian, but he thinks he's a white supremacist Republican, whatever. So long story short, Jillian Michaels, I don't know why she decides to get around people like Roland Martin, a guy who's really done studying and whatnot. And if you notice, Roland Martin, see, one thing about American, black Americans, African Americans, whatever terminology is more comfortable with you, they've been here since 1619, before America was even America. They fought in every major war. We've fought in every major war. So a lot of people that I know that have try to give black people history lessons, it's like they get stomped because they don't really understand American history. They don't really know it. So when he says over 44,000 black people were lynched during Jim Crow, segregation, all that type of stuff, and you want to call the Muslims coming in right now terrorists, you're worried about terrorism, then you should be worried about the right-wing extremists that are here in this country who do the most violent. This is an FBI, let's look at it. Who commits the most domestic terrorism? Right now it says, based on the U.S. government independent analysis, right-wing extremists, particularly white supremacists and anti-government extremists, are responsible for the majority of domestic terrorism attacks and fatalities, accounting in roughly 75% to 90% such incidents in recent years. So the most dangerous group of people in America are white extremists. They're not black people. They're not people of color. They're not the people. Immigrants create the least crime in America, mostly because they don't want to get deported. Most immigrants, I come from a family of immigrants, Kenya, Africa, East Africa. I grew up around nothing but immigrants my whole life. The last thing that they always tell you They are huge on not committing crimes. That is the major key to being an immigrant. You want to stay low key, get your citizenship, stay out the way. So with that being said, white domestic terrorism, especially right-wing white Christian terrorism, is the worst. Like I said, with the lynchings, KKK, throughout history has been that. And then he says at the end, this is the part that I want to leave off of, when he says, why don't you guys come to the country and assimilate? Why don't they always tell black people and brown people, they always say, why don't you learn how to just assimilate? What, as if assimilation is the answer. As in Roland Martin said, black people have been here since 1619 and still catching hell to this day. Assimilation does not work. Because as soon as you assimilate, they're going to move the goalposts. It's the right-wing, far-right, extremist racism that is a problem. And I think that was a beautiful conversation. When any other group of people get here to the States, right? Italians, they set up Little Italy. Jewish people, they have their own Jewish courts. Like I heard in New York, like you can go to a Jewish court before you go to the main court, and they'll put them in and lobby for them. Yeah. And I don't know why she does that every time, but and they can lobby for them. And if you are a Mexican, they got a little Mexico, Cuba. But one thing they make sure to do with black people is make sure that they do not come together. I'll tell you guys specifically, like with a lot of Africans that come to the States, you are told in not so many words, right? And there'll be Africans out there that will also agree with me. You're told in not so many words, be careful about how you operate among black Americans in America. They'll tell you in the embassy, be careful. Don't get too cute out here. Don't get too cute. And Africans, they know. Haitians, they know. Jamaicans, they know. When they come to the States, you're kind of giving a talk in the embassy. Be careful. Don't come over here trying to start no revolutionary movement. You know what I mean? But that's the reason why I'm here as Chief Mariah. I really wanted to say that real quick. Hit the like button, share, subscribe. I'm going to do a lot more like these. We're going to get a lot more formal around here. We had fun, but then I was like, you know what? Let's get a little more formal. You know your boy, he be wilding. But I want this to be fun at the end of the day. I don't want this to be like some buttoned up type of situation. All right? So anyway, you guys definitely check out that video. Roland Martin, shouts out to you, brother. You always been doing it. You've been doing it for a long time. Long time. And is there anything else I want to say? The rising threat of white domestic terrorism. Guys, I'm going to tell you like this, man. This next midterms, be prepared, be ready. Get around a lot of black people. Some of y'all ran away from the hood, from the ghettos and the black areas. Those might be the safest places coming soon. This midterm is going to be wild. And then the election is going to be even more crazier. So yeah, we're going to stay tuned. We're going to stay locked in. I'm going to start trying to do longer videos, try to do a lot more. If you are into videography, I could use your help a lot. And if you're into content creation, it's a collab. But anyway, hope you guys are taking care. Stay black, stay strong. You know the slogan, chase knowledge, don't chase money. Peace, love, and positivity.